Hello grade 8 students, welcome back to our video tutorial in Mathematics 8, Quarter 2, Week 7 and Week 8. Our topic for Week 7 is about inverse, converse, and contrapositive. Here's the objectives. Determines the inverse, converse, and contrapositive of an if-then statement. Generally class, the conditional if P then Q is the connective most often used in reasoning. However, with some changes in words, in the original statement, additional conditionals can be formed. These new conditionals are called the inverse, the converse, and the contrapositive. To easily rewrite statement in its inverse, converse, and contrapositive forms, let us use the following as reference. So this one, the given statement, if P then Q, if we say inverse, it will become now, if not P, then not Q. So ato lang si Zhang, butangan og not. Then if we say converse, it will become if Q then P. Kung baga, ato lang si Zhang bayloon. So, mag-una na ang Q, then mawahi na ang P. So that is for converse. If we say contrapositive, the given statement will become if not Q, then not P. Kung baga, ang atong converse, ato lang butangan og not before sa Q, and then not before sa P. Again, mo na yung atong given statement, if P then Q. Then if we say inverse, butangan na nato og not ang before sa P, then not po before sa Q. Then if we say converse, ato lang balihon ang P and Q. Then sa contrapositive, atong butangan og not before sa Q, then not po before sa P. Okay, inverse. To write the inverse of a conditional statement, simply negate both the hypothesis and the conclusion. If you can still remember sa atong previous nga discussion, if we say hypothesis, mao to si Zaang na ay F. So katong mayong tag FP, so mao to si Zaang hypothesis, then katong din Q, mao to si Zaang conclusion. Example, if the measure of angle A is less than 90, then angle A is an acute angle. So, asa man natong hypothesis anay? So, mao ni siya. If the measure of angle A is less than 90, then our conclusion kani siya. Then angle A is an acute angle. If we say inverse, ato lang i-negate. Unsa meaning ang negate? So, mao ni siya ang katong kani. Atong butangan og not. So, what will happen now? So, instead of if the measure of angle A is less than 90, so ato siya negate, so butangan natog not, so mahimo na ni siya if the measure of angle A is not less than 90. Then, kanina pong conclusion, butangan na po nato ni siya og not, mahitabuan ni is, then angle A is not an acute angle. Okay, example number 2. If two distinct lines intersect, then they intersect at one point. So, here's the hypothesis, then the conclusion. So, unsay buhaton kung inverse, ato lang si Jang butangan og not. So, it will become now, if two distinct lines do not intersect, then they do not intersect at one point. So, very simple. Butangan lang og not. Basta inverse. Okay, next, we have converse. Okay, again, if we say converse, atong ba lihon ang Q og P. So, if P, then Q. So, sa converse, may mo siyang if Q, then P. So, here's the definition. To write the converse of a conditional statement, simply interchange the hypothesis and the conclusion. That is, the then part becomes the F part. So, bayloon lang ang atong hypothesis o conclusion. Example number 1. If the measure of angle A is equal to 90, then angle A is a right angle. So, mao ni ang hypothesis, mao ni ang conclusion. So, again, ingon man nga converse, balihon lang ang hypothesis and conclusion. So, mahitabuan ni, angle A is a right angle. So, ang atong conclusion ganiha, nahimo na nga hypothesis. Then, the measure of angle A is equal to 90. So, ang atong conclusion, mauna ni ang katong hypothesis kaganiha. Okay. Example number 2. If two distinct planes intersect, then their intersection is aligned. So again, mao ni siya ang atong hypothesis, then mao ni ang conclusion. Since we're dealing with converse, so the conclusion now becomes the F part. So asa man tong conclusion? Kani, the intersection. So if the intersection of two planes is aligned, then the two planes are distinct. So again, that is the converse. Balihon lang ang hypothesis and conclusion. Okay, last one, we have the contrapositive. Okay, again, sa to contrapositive, if not Q, then not P. Okay, we have the definition. To form the contrapositive conditional statement, first, get its inverse. Then, interchange its hypothesis and conclusion. Okay, first daw, atong kuhaon ng ijang inverse. Then human, atong i-interchange ang ijang hypothesis and conclusion. Okay, example. If measurement of angle A and measurement of angle B is equal to 90, then angle A and angle B are complementary. Again, sa ito giingon, kuhaon kuno ang inverse. So, unsa may inverse anay? Negation sa given statement. So, ato lang ni siyang inat. So, okay, here is the inverse now. If measurement of angle A plus measurement of angle B is not equal to 90, kay equal man na diha, so ang ijang negation, kung ato na siyang inat, so not equal. Then, angle A and angle B are not complementary, kay complementary man na siya diha. So, sa inverse, mahimo na ng not complementary. So, okay na ang first step. Nakuha na nato ang inverse of the given statement. So, after nato makuha ang inverse, atong i-interchange ang hypothesis and conclusion. So, is the contrapositive. So, mao na niya contrapositive. If angle A plus angle B are not complementary, then measurement of angle A plus measurement of angle B is not equal to 90. Okay, example number 2. If a figure is a circle, then it is not a polygon. Again, the first step is, let us get the inverse. So, unsa may inverse sa atong hypothesis? Butangan lang nato ni og not. So, if a figure is not a circle, then sa conclusion, since nakanat naman ni daan, so ang isang negation or binali, then it is a polygon. So, nakuha na nato ang inverse. So, ato na siyang i-interchange. Atong balihon ang hypothesis and conclusion. So, unsa may atong hypothesis ganiha? If a figure is not a circle, then ang conclusion, it is a polygon. So, ang atong contrapositive now, if a figure is a polygon, then it is not a circle. Okay, recap. If we say inverse, ato lang kuhaon ang ijang negation sa given statement. Kung mo kag converse, ato lang balihon ang hypothesis and conclusion. Then if we say contrapositive, atong kuhaon ang ijang inverse, then i-interchange ang hypothesis and conclusion. Okay, for your activity number 1, write the inverse, converse, and contrapositive of the following conditional statements. Okay, that is 1 to 5. Okay, mao ni ang answer key for activity number 1 and activity number 2. Activity number 1, mao ni siyang activity after sa discussion sa week 7. And for activity 2, mao ni siya ang solution for activity number 2 after sa week 8. Okay, let's proceed to week 8. Our topic for week 8 is all about logically equivalent statements. The implication or conditional statement P implies Q is always true except in the case that P is true and Q is false. So, this one, kaning P class, that is the hypothesis and Q is our conclusion. As you can see in the table, this is our conditional statement. So, this column, these are the hypothesis and these are the conclusions. So, under P, column P, so, our hypothesis can be true, true, false, false. At the same time, our conclusion, it can be true or false. So, if our hypothesis is true, and our conclusion is true, then our truth value is always true. And if our hypothesis is true and our conclusion is false, then that would be the time that our truth value is a false. Then, if our hypothesis is false and our conclusion is true, still our truth value is true. If our hypothesis is false and our conclusion is also false, then our truth value is still true. In short, ang atong tan-awon lang nga case is that if our hypothesis is true and our conclusion is false, then our truth value is false. Alright. The truth value class of a conditional statement is either true or false. It is false only when the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false. Example, determine the truth value of the following related conditionals. Okay, here is our conditional statement. If a shape is a triangle, then it is a polygon. The given statement is true since all triangles are polygons. If we say inverse, again the negation of the conditional statement. So our conditional statement is this one. If a shape is a triangle, so the inverse is if a shape is not a triangle, then it is not a polygon. Then it is a polygon, so the inverse, it is not a polygon. The inverse is false because a square is not a triangle, but it is a polygon. The converse of the given conditional statement is this one. Again, if we see converse, we will simply interchange the hypothesis and the conclusion. So, mao ni atong hypothesis, mao ni ang conclusion. Therefore, our converse is this one. If a shape is a polygon, then it is a triangle. Okay, analyze the converse. Is it true? If not, give a counterexample. If we say counterexample class, that is any example that shows the statement is false. So, kung baga, maghatag lang kag example that make your statement false. The converse is false because a square is also a polygon. Okay, we have the contrapositive of the given conditional statement. If a shape is not a polygon, then it is not a triangle. So, again, kung saan pagkuha ang contrapositive, first, atong gikuha ang inverse, and then, atong i-interchange ang hypothesis and conclusion. So, ang sama atong inverse ganiha, if a shape is not a triangle, then it is not a polygon. So, ato lang ning i-interchange, mao ni ang atong contrapositive. So, mahimo na ni siya nga, if a shape is not a polygon, mag-una na ning atong conclusion, then it is not a triangle. The contrapositive is true since you cannot find a shape which is not a polygon but a triangle. Alright. If we say logically equivalent statements class, these are the statements that have the same logical content. Kung baga, the same siya of truth value. For example, illustrate the equivalences of the statement and its contrapositive and the converse and inverse of a statement. For example, number 1, if a number is divisible by 2, then it is divisible by 4. So let us take a look at the conditional, the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. So here is our conditional statement. The given statement is false. Why? Because 6 is divisible by 2 but not divisible by 4. So our conditional statement is false. How about the converse? Our converse again, we will simply interchange the hypothesis and the conclusion. So, if a number is divisible by 4, then it is divisible by 2. The converse is true because if a number is divisible by 4, automatically, this is also divisible by 2. Therefore, the converse is true. Okay, how about its inverse? Let us take a look at the truth value of the inverse of the given conditional statement. If a number is not divisible by 2, then it is not divisible by 4. Okay, the inverse is true because If a number is not divisible by 2, then automatically it is not also divisible by 4 because we cannot find a number that is not divisible by 2 but divisible by 4. Again, the inverse of the conditional statement is true. How about the contrapositive? If a number is not divisible by 4, then it is not divisible by 2. Okay, the contrapositive is false. Okay, counter example. 6 is not divisible by 4, but divisible by 2. Okay, to summarize this one, therefore, the conditional statement and its contrapositive are both false. So, let us take a look at the conditional. Again, the conditional is false. And also, the contrapositive. So, false ang atong conditional and contrapositive. And at the same time, the converse and inverse of the statement are both true. So, ang atong converse and inverse are both true. Thus, the conditional statement and its contrapositive and the converse and inverse of a statement are logically equivalent. So, in short, kung mayroon tag logically equivalent class, kadtong mga statement nga pareha og truth value. So meaning, ang conditional o contrapositive, they are logically equivalent, and the converse and inverse, since pareham sila og truth value which is false, therefore they are also logically equivalent. Okay na naka-note sa ubos. If we say logically equivalent statements, it means that their truth values are the same. Okay, here is your activity number 2. Again, ang answer kay ani is this one. Okay, for your summative test, still that is multiple choice 1 to 10. And please, nganhi isuwat ang inyong answer. Diya sa blank before item number and then inyo ning ipas o balik inigpas sa inyong answer sheets. Kay mao na ang among chicken. Okay, until next time for your quarter 3. Since this is our last video tutorial in quarter 2. Okay, God bless and stay safe.